In today's episode, my meal must be salt-free. I am not responsible for your shipment caused delays to end project completion. You don't think I'm doing my job? Fine, there's no reason for me to be here. So let's get started. My meal must be salt-free. This story is from a dinner party I hosted before the pandemic. I invited 6 folks, and shortly after the invites were sent I received a call from Sally. Sally, not her real name, advised me that she was now on a salt-free diet due to medical reasons. She advised that at home she cooked without any salt, and gave me a speech about how wonderful salt-free life was. I was skeptical and advised her that I would personally find it difficult to give up all salt. Was she sure she wasn't just on a low-sodium diet? Sally advised that unless her dish was salt-free she wouldn't be attending. While telling her no was an option, I'm not that person, see my previous malicious compliance. I was pissed off at Sally for years of being difficult at the dinner table and restaurants. Trust me, there was always something wrong with her meal, or its preparation, or the flavor, or the waiter, or... With a smile so large you could hear it through the phone, I assured her that her request for salt-free was 100% going to be accommodated. On the dinner night I prepped the meal. Sally was getting the same thing as everything else with one critical difference. All of her food was prepped in separate containers, baked on separate racks, and seasoned with exactly the same flavors sans salt. Dinner time and my guest arrive. I have all of Sally's food plated on white plates. Everyone else gets gray plates. First round, appetizers. Fried calamari with a lemon jalapeno butter sauce. This dish typically has salt in both the batter and the sauce. As Sally couldn't have that, I battered her calamari in salt-free seasonings and flour. Her condiment looked exactly the same, but was made with unsalted butter and no added salt. I place Sally's plate in front of her first, and she immediately states she asked for salt-free. I assure her that her dish is salt-free, and I made sure to cook hers separate, and even use a different colored plate to keep it straight. We all sit to talk and enjoy the squid. Sally takes a bite and makes a face. Mine has no flavor. She exclaims. All of my other guests tell Sally it's divine, delicious, best they've had, etc. I smile at Sally and assure her that her dish was flavored exactly as everyone else. The only difference is that she received absolutely no salt. It's at this point that Sally has a moment of clarity. It's painfully obvious on her face. She realizes she can't complain about the lack of salt, as she's already told the table about her salt-free life. She also can't claim it tastes terrible if everyone else is raving about the food. She literally looks like she was about to cry at the table. As my guest enjoy their dinner, Sally is slowly doing the toddler plays with her food munch and pushing her calamari around the plate. After a few moments she reaches for the sauce that I made for everyone else. Sally, be careful, the salt-free sauce is in the white bowl. That one has salt. She mumbles something about wanting to taste the difference before literally dumping the bowl on her calamari. She then exclaims how much better it tasted. You and I know that, of course, things taste better with salt. So this drama repeated itself over the main course of honey-roasted salmon with pine nuts. I also am no heathen and had both salt and pepper on the table for my guest. I'm not going to judge you for needing more flavor. Here we go. Sally takes a bite of her fish and once again realizes that it has no salt. She reaches for the salt shaker and conversation stops. Another guest asked Sally if she was okay with adding salt to her food. She says that she can occasionally have salt. She proceeds to shower her fish with salt sprinkles. I also baked some cookies for dessert. The dough uses a little salt. I made sure to whip up a separate batch of cookies wrapped to go for her. Salt-free, of course. When I handed her those cookies, the look of defeat that hit her face warmed my heart. Dinner is over, everyone is happy except for Sally. I called her the next week to make sure she was okay as she's consumed sodium at my party. Sally told me her doctor has removed her sodium restrictions, and she won't need that accommodation at future meals. On the phone I congratulate her for her good health. When I hang up I laugh until my sides hurt. Salt-free life apparently doesn't taste good when the salt is actually omitted. Note, to any on a low or no sodium diet, for their health I commend you. Sally, however, wasn't actually on this diet. This is evidenced by her shock at how salt-free food tasted. I confirmed with her husband that she's never stopped using salt at home. Her salt-free claims were a ploy for attention that backfired tastelessly. I am not responsible for your shipment caused delays to end project completion. Typing on mobile. This happened couple months ago at my company. Basically part my job at my firm is to configure servers and ship them out. Because of this I have to deal with logistics sometimes. My company's logistics team is notorious for being super late on getting us shipping information for international shipments, mostly because it involves them having to look into customs etc., which I assume is time consuming. I have had instances in the past where they legit just forget about international shipments until I keep banging at their door and finally get management involved. We had this important project coming up where the on-site server had malfunctioned, and I needed to ship a replacement. We also upgraded their service offering, and that entailed another additional piece of hardware being shipped for that service/project to be completed. This other piece, as well as the overall project, was managed by a different team, a specific PM, let's call her Laura. As usual, I reached out to logistics with all the information for my shipment and did not receive a response. On the other side, I got emails from the Laura saying due to customs delays, it makes sense to ship both items in the same box, and that I should make that happen. I understood that, but I added Laura to my email thread letting her know it had been weeks and logistics was not helping me with a label for my unit, and since she is higher up the food chain, I needed help getting her to push logistics to get me the appropriate labels. She forwarded my email to a bunch of people from the warranty department and operations, letting them know about our shipment and basically asking them to figure it out. There was some back and forth between her and our parts lead where he explained how this was not under his scope of work, rightly so. The last email I got from her literally wrote, "I am not sure how to proceed here, but I am not associated with this shipment." I responded saying I understand completely, I will work on this with logistics. Cue malicious compliance. I reached out to our parts lead and explained the issue to him. Since he works with logistics frequently, he pushed them to help me get the appropriate documents for my servers, and I was able to get them shipped without the extra hardware. I completed my portion of work by getting them installed etc., but I saw the emails back and forth from Laura and logistics struggling to get the additional hardware out. She was unable to do it about a month after my servers were already integrated, which caused us to not have the service completed since overall completion relied on both hardware elements. Laura was the project manager for this as well, and had to draft emails explaining the delays. All this because she couldn't just email logistics with a simple "guys, this is urgent, can we get her a label?" P.S. I know the real villain here is our logistics department, but there are no winners when dealing with them. You don't think I'm doing my job? Fine, there's no reason for me to be here. Obligatory on mobile, sorry for any format problems. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. I have many stories like this, but this one is still funny to me to this day, and has also gotten me blacklisted, even though they let me work the next day after this scenario occurred, so that makes no sense to me, from a certain fast food franchise with golden arches. Back in 2016/17, I was working at this fast food joint which happened to be right off of the interstate, so as you can imagine it was very busy all of the time. I was around 16 at the time, so I was in high school still. I worked at this place almost all of the time that I was free from school, but had the occasional off day. More often than not I would get called into work because this spot was so busy, we were very understaffed, and because I knew all working positions, and could switch between them, and pick up other people's slack. So on this particular day my general manager called me up and I came to work. One of my really good friends was there, so that was refreshing, and we were put in the window together. Where, might I say, we absolutely crushed it. So there we are, him handing out drinks and orders, he's taking orders. It's a constant flow of customers and the general manager is where? In the office. Not a problem, that's his job. The problem started when the line got backed up and either we were waiting on food or we were waiting for them to pay at the other window. My point is, something wasn't right, and it had nothing to do with what was going on in the front drive-thru, where we had already pulled up orders in every spot possible, so we start talking about who knows what, while we waited. About that time here comes the GM on his high horse. He takes it upon himself to come to the front and yell at me, specifically saying that he didn't call me into work just so I could play around, and that he was tired of me not doing anything, and that I needed to do my job because why else was I here? Like I said before, we were absolutely slammed, but handing out and taking orders like crazy, but we were at a standstill waiting on something. It's worth adding that this job had a rule of staying in our positions, especially when it was busy. So to that I respond, well, if you feel like I'm not doing anything, sir, there's no reason for me to be on your clock on my off day, is there? And I marched right over, clocked out, and went home. I heard the news from everyone else that they were all very upset with the GM for this, as they called me into work because I was obviously a big help knowing all of the positions and also being available to help until they were at a point to where they could handle it alone, or until other workers came in. Needless to say, it was a train wreck for them, and they got their asses handed to them, and I never got another complaint from anyone, especially not when I was working on my day off. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.